You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Glad you could be here. Thank you for joining me on another podcast, All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Go to our Facebook page to get in contact with the show for comments or suggestions. I won't take up much more of your time. Let's get into it. All right, so been a couple of days. I have a lot to talk about today. Just a podcast jam-packed, full of topics. A lot of things going on in the sports world. Drew Brees, pretty much this has to be his last year with the injuries that have happened and are starting to mount up with his body. The NBA draft taking place this week, just 2 days ago. The Jordan-Isaiah beef still continues. And a little infidelity featuring LaRussa Pippen, ex-wife of Scottie Pippen. A lot of stuff to get into. First, I want to start with the NBA. So we all know that, what was it, Wednesday night, 2 nights ago, the NBA draft took place, and we saw that Edwards from Georgia went number 1. James Wiseman went number 2. And number 3 to the Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo Ball. After the third pick, the draft is pretty much a crapshoot. You get who you get. You get who you like, whoever it is you've been scouting. This really wasn't that much of a strong draft. COVID-19 really shook up the college sports world. We didn't get to see a lot of guys play and a lot of guys to actually showcase their talents. So, you have a lot of people out there that haven't seen a lot of these guys that were taken in a Wednesday night's NBA draft, with the exception of the 3 names that I just mentioned that just, that went 1, 2, 3. Now, I'll be honest with you. I saw Wiseman play. I'm pretty sure we all have seen LaMelo Ball and the whole situation that him and his brothers went through with their father, LaVar. The only one that kind of shook me was Edwards going number 1 from the University of Georgia. And what's funny is, with me living in Georgia, I never heard of Edwards until Georgia played Memphis this past season before COVID shut down the sports world. And again, I knew who Wiseman was. I never heard of Edwards, honestly. I'm not going to say I heard of this guy. I had never heard of Edwards. And look, I can go look at his highlight reels, see what he brings to the table. That's pretty much everybody who went in the draft. I can do that. But, you can make a highlight reel look like, the next coming of Michael Jordan if you want to. You can fix a highlight reel to show exactly what it is that you want to show. So looking at highlights as far as basketball, it doesn't really do anything for me. I have to actually see you play in a real game situation. Now, I didn't go back and look for games that the University of Georgia played in that he was in. I'm just going to wait, see what he does in Minnesota. I'm not really sold on, and this is me, and maybe I'm not qualified to give this opinion because I don't know much of his game. I don't see getting much from him at the number 1 pick with Minnesota. You have D. Russell there. So I don't know. All we can do is wait and see how the pick turns out. That's all any of us can do. Number 2, James Wiseman. I'm sure you heard of him after the whole situation that happened this past season in Memphis with it came to light that Penny Hardaway, head coach of the Memphis Tigers, he had paid, I think he gave his family like $10,000 to move. And this is before he was even the head coach of Memphis. This took place when Wiseman, I believe, was in high school. And the NCAA got a hold of it, and they said, look, he had to return the money if he wanted to play. There would still be some type of suspension or something to that effect. And he just decided to, you know what, I'm just going to shut it down and get ready for the NBA draft. Now, he is your typical big man. He can defend the paint. And I agree with a lot of the sports commentators, out there saying that if this was 10 years ago, Wiseman would have went number one. And I totally agree. But we all know the big man in today's NBA is not the big man in yesteryear's NBA. Big man, now they expect big men to get out there and shoot on the perimeter and not just hang out on the block. So we'll see what happens with Wiseman. But the Warriors, they had a situation where Klay Thompson is now out for the season. He's going to miss his second year in a row, tearing his Achilles. So do you think that Golden State regrets not taking LaMelo Ball at number 2, knowing that Klay is going to be gone? Because let's be honest, Klay is 30 years old. He has in one leg a torn ACL, what is now repaired, and in the other leg a ruptured Achilles. So, I'm sorry. I know a couple guys personally that have tore their Achilles, and they just weren't the same, and the stories I hear. Now, I've broken bones before. I've broken my ankle playing football. I've broken a pinky playing basketball. And the stories I hear about Achilles are the worst thing that can happen. One of the worst things other than the ACL that can happen to you, sports-wise. I hear how, you lose calf muscle. You can't really, get a good jump when you're running. I knew a guy who tore his Achilles, and he was just walking, and it just went. His Achilles just went, and it was the most freak accident thing that could have ever happened. And he said he was in so much pain, and the only way to fix the Achilles, to reattach it, is you have to have surgery. Now, so that means for Klay, he's going to be out for the year. At 30 years old, and I'm telling you this as a guy who's almost 40, the guy I'm talking about, one of my buddies, this happened when we were close to 30 when it happened. And I just remember him being in a lot of pain. It wasn't enjoyable. So I just wonder how this is going to affect Klay and his NBA career. Is he going to go back to being the same Klay? I mean, Klay can be a catch and shoot guy, like a Kyle Korver. He doesn't need to create his own shot, But I still wonder how this is going to affect his game, So with that being said, because I understand that the Warriors knew about this injury maybe an hour, 30 minutes to an hour before the draft. So, do you take LaMelo as kind of like a replacement for this season, but a semi-replacement going forward because you don't know what you're going to get with Klay? Or do you take Wiseman? But Golden State, they stay the course, and they said they weren't going to let an injury affect their decision, as they're looking at the long run, thinking that we're going to take Wiseman in this year's draft, and we're going to get Klay back in the future, and we will be set. So that's how Golden State is going about things. So LaMelo, ends up number 3 going to the Charlotte Hornets. And we all know Michael Jordan's track record with draft picks. So that part has me worried, because until Jordan can actually draft an all-star outside of Kemba Walker because he couldn't wait to get out. He couldn't wait to get out of Charlotte. Michael Jordan has had some of the worst drafts in recent memory. Never forget Kwame Brown. That was Michael Jordan's decision in Washington. Kwame Brown. He's picked some. He's had some bad drafts, but I don't know. Let's hope that LaMelo comes in, and I'm not going to say he's going to be the savior of the Charlotte Hornets franchise, but I do think that him being out of the limelight, being in a small city like Charlotte, and I got to stop saying, I won't say a small city. I've been to Charlotte before. I love Charlotte. It's a great city. It's a small metropolitan city, though. It's a smaller city. I will put Charlotte like a notch below Atlanta. Yeah, that's how I would look at Charlotte. So, LaMelo Ball, number 3. Look, I hope it works out for LaMelo. I'm a big fan of LaVar. I know a lot of people don't like him and his loud mouth. He has done a great job raising his sons. That's not to say that there aren't other people out here doing the same, because there are. There are other men out here that are raising their sons to be great men and great productive citizens out here in society. So I salute those men as well. It's just that LaVar Ball is in the spotlight. I don't know William up the street around the corner 3 houses down to the left. I just don't know that guy. But salute to William down the street, up the corner, 3 houses down on the left. Salute to that man. If he's out here doing big things as far as raising his kids and making them, especially the men, raising them into productive citizens. So I salute those men. But LaVar takes a lot of flack, and I get it, but my man raised great kids, great kids. They're not out here in these streets. They kept their heads on their shoulders, and I hope nothing but the best for LaMelo Ball, and I hope it works out for him in Charlotte. And congratulations also to all the other draft picks, all the other guys that were selected Wednesday night in the NBA draft. Some of those guys, their lives are about to change forever. And speaking of lives changing forever, I want to touch back on what LaVar Ball told his sons, saying that, you guys are NBA players. You're not going to meet any good girls. You're going to pretty much bring home the hoes. the OnlyFans account holders, I have no problem with what he said. He was pretty much saying that, look, you're going to be a target. These women, you're playing in 40 different states, and either you're going to meet, but your profession, you're going to meet a woman either at the arena, the nightclubs you're in, or the strip clubs you're going to, So, and the women that come up to you and they'll say, "Oh, I didn't know you were a basketball player," and you were the lies. Like LaVar told his sons, these women know about you before you come into the building. They know you're coming to the building. A lot of people might not like how he told his sons, but I have no problem with it. Especially when it comes to boys. Look, be upfront, be real with your boys, okay? Don't be somebody's come up, Don't let somebody let you be a crutch for their financial come up, So I have no problem with what LaVar ended up telling his boys. I have no problem with it at all. So, especially with black boys, with black kids, you know, we we look. It's so many ways where I can go with this, but I think I'm just gonna leave it there. Shout out to the Ball family; they're doing good things. All right, I want to stay in the NBA. I want to talk about the Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas beef. For some reason, it will not die. Now, I don't know what it's going to take for Isaiah Thomas to just move on. Look, I don't even see why it's a surprise that he is now understanding why Jordan feels the way that he feels about him. So Isaiah recently came out and said that, he dominated Jordan and that Michael Jordan was not his competition. And I agree. Isaiah said that, he was beating Jordan all the time and that his competition was Magic and Larry Bird and Dr. J. I totally agree. I totally agree. Now, Michael Jordan's not coming out saying any of this stuff. Michael Jordan, the Last Dance, he said, how he really felt about Isaiah. But Isaiah just can't seem to let this thing go. He's been bitter ever since the 92 Dream Team. I won't even say that. I'll say when the Bulls finally beat them. Now, age caught up to the Pistons when the Bulls beat them. And I get it. But he's just been bitter ever since that. And he's a bitter man. Look, no man goes around talking like this about another man just constantly. That's female tendencies, in my opinion. Female traits. And I'm sorry, Isaiah Thomas has female traits, as does Shaq. Because Shaq can't leave Dwight Howard alone, but I won't get into that today. But Isaiah Thomas can't keep Michael Jordan's name out of his mouth. And I get people will ask you a question, well, how do you feel about this? Look, make a simple statement, a 1-sentence, 2-sentence statement, leave it at that, go on about your day. But he just keeps dwelling on this whole situation with Michael Jordan. Well, Michael Jordan wasn't my competition. We beat him. We had a winning record. I was chasing Magic. I was chasing Bird, Dr. J. And look, I have no quarrels about that. I agree. I definitely agree. But at some point, Isaiah, you got to let the beef go. Let it go. It will set you free. All right, I wanted to touch on something real quickly, just a little snippet, if you will. Ron Artest was on a podcast that's hosted by Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. I believe it's called All the Smoke Podcast. That might be the name of it. I believe it's what it is. But they were talking about the malice at the palace. One of the greatest, is it infamous? Would you call it one of the most infamous fights in sports history? Is it crazy that I loved it? I enjoyed it. If you haven't seen, if you're the younger generation and you haven't seen Malice at the Palace, Ron Artest, Ben Wallace, I would advise you to go to YouTube, type it in, check it out. You will be entertained for a good 15 minutes. Oh, wow. Well, they were asking Matt Barnes, because Ron Artest and Steven Jackson, of course, were there in the building at the Palace of Auburn Hills, where the Pistons used to play. They were asking Matt Barnes, where were you when it happened? Matt Barnes said that he was in Sacramento, and I think that he said they were at halftime of a game, and they turned the TV on, and they see the fight going on. Everyone's showing the fight, And he said they were almost late going out to take the floor because they were in the locker room watching the fight. you know. So I guess I wanted to ask, where were you when Malice at the Palace happened? I remember exactly where I was at. It was on a Friday night. It was a Friday night. I had nothing going on. You know, I had no ladies coming through, that night. And um I was chilling at home, and I didn't catch it live. I caught the tail end of it. So I'm flicking through the channels, and I see Pistons and Pacers, and those two teams at that time really weren't my kind of brand of basketball, because Detroit was just a straight defensive team, and I just thought the Pacers they just played ugly ball to me. I didn't like those two teams really. So I didn't watch the game, and I caught the tail end of it, and I'm wondering what's going on, because the announcers, the way they're talking, like you can clearly tell something happened. So I watched a couple more minutes, and then boom, they show the whole thing, and it just hits you. And Ron Artest even said that the foul wasn't that hard that started the whole thing. And I agree. I've said that before. Ben Wallace overreacted. Now, Artest said that it had something to do with Defensive Player of the Year award, a little bit of jealousy, and I don't doubt that, because the foul was kind of soft. It was a soft foul. It was a foul, but it was weak. It was nothing to write home to mom about. But Ben Wallace took exception to it, shoved him a couple times, and Ron Artest proceeded to lay on the scorer's table, and then had a beer thrown on him from the stands. Now, Steven Jackson, and I agree with him, he said the guy that threw the beer had the most perfect aim. None of the beer spilled while he was throwing it. None of it. It reached its target, and then boom, the target was Artest. And all mayhem broke loose. Never forget Jermaine O'Neal coming with the all-you-can punch, okay? The Ryu punch. Oh, my goodness. I mean, that the guy really is lucky that, I agree with what Matt Barnes is saying. The floor was slippery, because beer was being thrown on the floor. And that guy is lucky that Jermaine O'Neal did not connect. Well, not connect, because he connected, that he didn't follow through with the punch because he slipped. But my goodness, I remember that punch. It was almost, if he followed through, that would have been the punch of death. I remember the fight was so bad that I was watching football the next day. And this is when JB, James Brown, who was on CBS Sports, he was over on Fox NFL Sunday at the time. And I remember he broke in the football game, to talk about the suspensions that had been handed out from the fallout from Friday. Because, normally NBA offices are closed on the weekends. But this fight was just so epic. For me, at least, it was epic that the league couldn't just stand around and do nothing. They had to do something now. So I believe Ron Artest, he was suspended like the rest of the season. He was done. And they were only maybe like 10, 15 games into the season. Artest was done for the year. I believe Jermaine O'Neal was suspended like half the season. And some other guys, Steven Jackson. A lot of the Pacer players were actually prosecuted because of that fight. But I just wanted to touch on that, the Malice at the Palace, and where were you when it happened, which is what Steven Jackson was asking. All right, moving on. Still in the NBA, a lot of NBA news going on with the season about to kick off on December the 22nd. Russell Westbrook and James Harden, they want out. They are asking for trades. Now, as far as Russell Westbrook goes, in the wake of that happens sometimes. Sometimes you get a tongue twister. You're talking a little too fast. You're thinking, and your mind is going faster than what you can speak. So, yeah, forgive me. It happens. But as far as Russell Westbrook goes, in the wake of the departures of head coach Mike D'Antoni and general manager Daryl Morey, Westbrook, well, not just Westbrook, but Harden as well, they both expressed concerns about the direction of the franchise through direct conversations or discussions with their representatives and the Rockets front office and owner Tillman Fertitta. Fertitta? Is that how you pronounce his last name? Fertitta? Help me out with that. All right, now the departure of Daryl Morey. They recently promoted general manager Raphael Stone to the GM duties, and they recently hired head coach Stephen Silas. Now, Stephen Silas has emphasized that the franchise has remained committed to fielding contender while featuring the two perennial All-Stars in their prime. But Harden and Westbrook, they're concerned that that window could be closing, and the Rockets' commitment to winning could be wavering a little bit. Now, Westbrook, who turned 32 recently, he's owed $131 million over the next 3 years. Now, he has a $46 million option for 22-23 in that season. Now, my thing is, who is going to take on that contract? There's no team that's on the cusp of winning that can take that deal on. Because if you're on the cusp of winning, chances are you have an all-star or two already on your team. So if Westbrook wants to get out of Houston, he's going to have to go to a team, let's say, the Knicks. Now, they're interested in him. But, again, I don't see who's taking that contract. It's going to be a bottom team that will take it on. Now, Westbrook won the 2016-17 MVP, made his 9th All-Star appearance last season. He was a little rusty last year, playing through an injury. He rushed back from a strained right quadricep during the first round of the playoffs. But Russell Westbrook is Russell Westbrook. He is what he is. And I just, I don't know what Houston's going to do. I don't know what Westbrook is going to do. Because Westbrook, you're not going to a winning situation with that deal. He has too much money that is owed to him. Rockets also don't have a first-round pick. Keep that in mind. So, that might be enticed, like I said, for a bottom team that will give away a first, for Westbrook. All right, bring him in here. I allow the New York Knicks. I'm just saying, be careful if you're Westbrook. I know, you want out. Same with Harden. Harden, going to Philadelphia, it could work, but then I don't know. I just don't know how well his game will mesh with Joel Embiid. I do think Simmons will have to go. They already gotten rid of Al Horford, which tells me they're probably not going to get rid of Simmons. And they just moved Horford to OKC. So yeah. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be the wild everything this upcoming season in the NBA. So get ready. It's going to be a fun year. Season starts on December 22nd, right before Christmas. All right, so let's switch. Well, you know what? Let's not switch gears. I wanted to touch on, and I try to stay away from the tabloid news. It's not really my thing. When I first started doing this podcast, I was saying, bringing out some tabloid nonsense, and I didn't like it. I try to stay away from it. But this is something that I think that men in general, doesn't matter your race, need to understand. So, LaRussa Pippen, we all know, is the ex-wife of Scottie Pippen. Cheating on Scottie Pippen with rapper Future. Now, she says they were separated. I don't know. but she was still married legally nonetheless. Now, that doesn't really bother me, whatever. You do what you want to do, it's your life. But Tristan Thompson came into play. Apparently, she was messing with Tristan Thompson first. Tristan Thompson has got to be one of the biggest simps in the NBA. This dude will put his penis in anything. And I'm going to tell you, fellas, stop doing it. Stop doing it. I understand money, power, respect. Okay? And it's one of the things that women love. Women love a guy who first has the money, then the power, then the respect. Just like this song, Money, Power, Respect. But, guys, you got to watch where you're, putting your penis at. You just have to. Because you have women who are living off of, they're being glorified hoes. I mean, when you're in that industry, that entertainment industry, the circle is small. I never understood why guys that are in that industry want a woman that's been passed around. I don't need to see this dude that you slept with every time I go over here, or go over there. I don't get it, and all I'm saying is to protect yourself. Protect yourself, because, look, I'm a traditionalist. I believe in traditional values. I don't necessarily think that women, I won't say not work. A woman should be able to work. Yeah, a woman should be able to have rights. But I do think that once you bring kids into the equation, then there are certain things that, you're married. There are certain things that you need to just step away from. She said that she wasn't able to be herself because she was raising kids, and that, Scottie Pippen didn't even know where they banked at. I thought that's how marriage should be. The woman is handling things on the home front, and the man is going out bringing home the bacon, what Scottie Pippen was doing. But today, traditional values just don't work today. They don't work. Women, and if, and I have to say this because women will get up themselves if you don't say this. If this is not you, then fine. You'll have that unicorn somewhere to say, oh, well, that's not me. But look, women don't respect traditional values now. They just don't. Women would rather just make a come up off another man's success. That's pretty much what LaRussa Pippen has done. I think she came from money or something to that effect or whatever. But look, I guarantee you she will not drop Scottie Pippen's last name. They're divorced now. She will never drop Pippen's last name. You want to know why? It's because his name is tied to greatness. Women want to be tied to success. That's what they want to be tied to. Because if her name was Lawrence or whatever her last name was, we wouldn't care. Her name is LaRussa Pippen. So, men, stop giving women your valuable time and attention just so that it can come back and bite you. That's all I wanted to say. Now, moving on. Finally, moving on. All right. Tony LaRussa, I didn't speak about this, but he was recently hired by the Chicago White Sox to manage. And he was arrested with driving under the influence in Arizona back in February. LaRussa's blood alcohol content was 0.08. Now, the arrest marks LaRussa's second known DUI. And he was arrested and later pleaded guilty in Florida back in 2007. Now, the 76-year-old Tony LaRussa tried to talk his way out of the arrest, according to the report. Now, the legal process in Arizona, which began in February, was delayed as a result of COVID-19. Now, this matter should have come to a conclusion months ago. Charges were officially filed on October 28th in the Maricopa County Justice Courts, the day before the White Sox announced LaRussa as the team's new manager. Now, LaRussa has not commented on the issue directly. When reached by ESPN by phone, he hung up after saying, "I have nothing to say." Now, I have so many questions for this situation. First being, why did the White Sox hire him? Please tell me. Tony LaRussa is 273 years old. Why did you hire LaRussa as your manager? Now, I was going to ask the question, why is it just now coming up? But I understand now because of COVID, it shut down a lot of the court houses here in the States. So a lot of cases got pushed back, and at first I was like, how is he just being charged with DUI? He should have been charged back in February. I mean, so now he's just now being charged with it. But I don't know if younger guys are going to respect Tony LaRussa, and I'm not going to get into what I mean by that. But if there are some players that don't want to play with him because of the whole Black Lives Matter situation, and he kind of wavered on it. At first he was against it. Now he's saying he's for it. So there are reports that there are some players that don't really want to play for LaRussa. Again, I'm not going to get into all that. You can read about that in your own time. I just want to know why the hell Tony LaRussa was hired in the first place. I will state again, LaRussa is 273 years old. I have no... Look, he was a great manager back in the day. Great manager, Great manager. Managing the A's and the Cardinals, winning World Series. I remember when the Braves had to go through his teams when he was managing the Cardinals with McGuire. Was it John Mabry? Ray Lankford. The Brian Jordans. So I remember those days when LaRussa, was managing, at least in the 90s, at least from what I saw. But again, I don't know if it's going to work in Chicago. I'm going to say it's not going to work. LaRussa is 273 years old. He is out of touch, I believe, with today's players. All right. Now, I want to go over to the Bay. A player by the name of Mac Williamson sues the Oracle Park designer, San Francisco Giants. Now, former San Francisco Giants outfielder Jonathan Mac Williamson is suing the owners of Oracle Park after suffering a concussion while tracking down a foul ball in April of 2018. Now, Williamson, who is 30, fell awkwardly over the bullpen mounds past the left field line and then crashed into the wall, suffering the injury. Now, Williamson's suit claims that the mounds never should have been moved to that location, and the Giants have now moved the bullpens to behind the outfield wall right before the 2020 season. Now, Williamson is saying that his injuries could have been avoided, but the park's failure to relocate the bullpens to where they belong in the first place. Williamson said it in a recorded statement. Now, trying to fight through concussion over the last 2.5 years have been difficult, both personally and professionally. Williamson said that he experiences nausea and dizziness, and he has vision issues. He last played in a Major League game in 2019. Williamson is suing China Basin Ballpark Company, LLC, which owns and operates the ballpark. Now, Williamson was drafted by the Giants in the third round of 2012, making his Major League debut in 2015, hitting 235. Well, that's his batting average. Hitting 235 and 28 at-bats in 2017, and then he only hit 187 the rest of 2018 after suffering the concussion. I don't really know what to say about this. I only seen one other guy before sue another organization / stadium designers, and that happened not too long, fairly recently. It was Reggie Bush. I believe he was with the 49ers, and they were playing the Rams. And this is when the Rams were still in St. Louis playing at I don't know what the name of that stadium is, that the dome they played in St. Louis. Reggie Bush was running out of bounds, and he slipped on a piece of concrete behind the bench area towards ACL. He ended up suing. It was either the Rams directly, or it was the designers or owners of the dome, the stadium that the Rams played in. He sued them, and Reggie Bush actually won a settlement for tearing his ACL, saying that they were at fault, for the concrete slab being out there, and he slipped with his cleats on. And yeah, which is funny. Let me tell you this quick story. I saw somebody yesterday just walking around in cleats. He had regular clothes on, and I heard click, clack, click, clack. And I looked to the side of me, and the guy's walking by me with the cleats on. We're not anywhere near any ball fields. And this is a grown man. I don't know what was going on with him that day. Yesterday. This happened just yesterday. I don't know what was going on with him, or he had a game to go to, or what, but it just struck me. It was weird, because I've never seen that before. It just walking randomly in the streets, with cleats on. But as far as Mac Williamson goes, I hope nothing but the best for him. I don't know where to go with that, and I'm just going to leave that story right there. MVPs of baseball. If you play first base in any league, please stand up. You have been chosen as MVPs of your respective leagues. Freddie Freeman, the Atlanta Braves, he is the first Brave to win the award since Chipper Jones. Fun fact, the year Chipper won it, I believe in 99, Chipper Jones was not selected to the All-Star game, but ended up winning the NL MVP, putting up the best numbers by far. I believe he had over 40 homers, over 100 RBIs, batted over 300. For some strange reason, he was not selected to be an All-Star that year. So congratulations to Freddie Freeman and Jose Abreu. The White Sox, he was also named MVP of the American League. He led the league in RBIs for the second consecutive season. So congratulations to Freddie Freeman, Jose Abreu, first basemen of their respective teams. They have been named MVPs of their leagues. Before I get out of here, I want to send a special shout out and a rest in paradise to my man Alex Trebek. Alex Trebek, came into our homes every night, 7:30, no matter where you were at. You knew what time it was when you heard that, the Jeopardy sound come on, and who was the host? Alex Trebek. Alex Trebek, one of the greatest game show hosts of all time. I love the fact that the guy was humble. He didn't put himself above others. I know he was battling cancer, and he attacked it head on. And the world is going to miss a guy like that. The world is going to miss Alex Trebek. I can't say enough about the guy. I remember watching Jeopardy shows, even when I didn't understand it when I was younger. It was just something that just drew me to the TV, where I can sit there and watch it, for a few minutes and listen to all these smart people, look, all I can say is Alex Trebek, rest in paradise. All right, look, that's all I got for you today, folks. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Go to the Facebook page, get in contact with the show for comments or suggestions. You've been listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. And remember, it's your world. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm out. Peace.
You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.